This is an incredible situation to me. How could you blame it on a customer? Go back to the damn drawing board and like build a better product that your customer will like. Instead, blame it on them for not liking your inferior product.
Right. But I think that if we look back at some of the technology that we are forcing on people, could you do that while driving a car? Could you do that while wearing glasses, right? How could you make this all work using what AI can do? We would throw out 90% of software out there because it doesn't match how humans want to use software.
The most of the common issues that I'm hearing for me is that our people aren't tech savvy. Bullshit. They're using a smartphone every single day.
They're watching the movie on their telephone, but they're adopting because the alternative is terrible. You're gonna read the airline magazine. You know what I mean?
When you're not learning, you're not managing.
Yeah, I agree.
You just checking some boxes.
Yeah.
And in the process is this platform making a lot of money, while companies' employees are just wasting time. And the company is paying money for that. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you're an executive, you're not on top of your game, you're done. Your days are numbered.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like.
Good to see you.
Good to have you, man.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to talk about. I want to talk about you, the business that you're in.
It's good.
I'd love to hear about. So, a lot of people are, obviously you're doing a tremendous amount of change in the industry, right? You're advising the consulting. You're doing a lot of media work. You're talking about your new venture. We can kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear. And to me, they're all connected. But I'd love to hear you tell how and why they're all connected. So your story. I'll play it back to you because I've heard it, I love it. Grew up in communist Romania and then escaped when did you come to North America? The US?
It wasn't really an escape because this was past communist time.
Okay.
So Ceausescu was overthrown in 1989, I was 14 then.
So right after the revolution.
I came to the States in 2003. Okay. So I lived a good bit, like half of my life in Romania was like under communist, the other half was not communist, more like a democracy.
And you came here, you started as you were a lawyer, you're a trained lawyer, that not a lot of people know.
I passed the bar exam, right?
That's the bar exam.
So I passed, never practiced as an attorney, but I worked for some government entities as a legal counselor for a few years before coming to the States.
And a lawyer, right? So
yeah.
And then come to the US, you've done all this training, all this stuff, and you're going to start at the ground. Don't speak English. You are doing things you weren't trained for, but you're motivated and have the ambition to make the change. And you got a job as a groundskeeper?
Yeah, groundskeeper was my first, I'll say, serious job. So because I didn't speak any English and I had zero history here, obviously it was impossible. Like people wouldn't take a chance in me,
right.
Which I understand. You can't communicate, you can't really show any type of work record. So for the first 6 months, I just kind of worked like odd jobs. We used to be to live with a Romanian family that got us in and helped us for about 6 months. We lived with them, and they just kind of shared their connections at the church. I used to do demolition, being a helper for stucco crews, whatever came up. Whatever situation was where people needed unqualified personnel, that's me.
Horsepower.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it was just muscle. It wasn't a lot of skill, literally just labor. 6 months in, a friend of mine suggested that I should be trying to apply for a groundskeeper position at Georgia Tech. He was there teaching and also doing his PhD. So he knew about opening. So I went there, and I went online and applied, but nothing did happen. However, the groundskeeper were kind of stuck with me. So I started applying for jobs. Everywhere I would see, back in the day was Monster, Yahoo jobs, other things, other sites that are not around anymore. Maybe Career Builder was kind of the top, if I remember. But I would just use the search word groundskeeper. Every position that I've seen in Atlanta, I applied. So about 3-4 months in the process, I got a phone call from an apartment community. Manager wanted to talk to me, wanted to see me, so I went there. Meantime, I learned a little English, right? So I was able to communicate a little bit. Then I had a part-time, so they hired me. Worked there for 6 months, then the community I was living at had an opening, and I went and applied there, they hired me. Just kind of decided to stick around. I don't think that was like really like a decision. I want to make a career in multifamily maintenance. So it just happened to work out.
Oh yeah, when you're just getting your feet in a new country, a new language, you're grateful for all the opportunities jammed for you, right? So you work your way up, you learn a ton of things, maybe no one knows you're a lawyer, a trained lawyer at this time.
Occasionally, I share with people when they ask me more about myself, like my previous life, it wasn't really advertised.
Of course, right? Because of the circumstances and all those things, right? And because of the people you're around.
And honestly, I don't think it mattered really for the things that I was doing here. That wouldn't necessarily apply directly.
Sure.
I think you only applied. It helped me think better.
That's
I could put more order in my thinking. I actually had workers asking me if I was in the military, if I served, and I haven't. So I asked them, why do you ask the question? Because it's kind of like, it's not a normal question. And they thought that the way I was, I guess, behaving and thinking pretty structured, they associated that with the military. I think that
it's relevant context for folks in that space.
Yeah, it just had a lot to do with, like going through law school and just kind of like putting a lot of order in my thinking.
So then, let's kind of fast forward a little bit through your maintenance career and operations and facilities leadership roles. And then, a couple years ago, you decide to start Multifamily X, right? Adrian, Danila Consulting, or whatever it was at the time, right? And you start deciding content and pushing out, relevant content, posting all these things on LinkedIn. The change that happened in your life happens to a lot of people. Why did you choose to start building out content?
For a few reasons. The very first reason is that I'm a big consumer of content.
Okay.
So I always like to see more, read more, especially back in the day, it wasn't a lot of content. Like, for example, LinkedIn was used as I say mainly a recruiting platform or networking in a sense of if I got fired or like I'm in between jobs, I gotta go on LinkedIn, and that's where the employers are, recruiters are, and opportunities are. So it's been seen as just that. Probably wasn't like a lot besides it at the time, but the platform and the way people are using it kept evolved in a big way. So seeing that there's not enough content out there, relevant content, and basically very little on the maintenance side of the business, I figured that this is an opportunity to.
Well, especially given like the amount of content on leasing was in like 2 years ago, 3 years ago was really arcing high because everyone was trying to lease. All these things are coming out, and so in that space, there's not a lot of the maintenance conversation. You go in there and you say, "I'll be the voice."
I'll say one of the voices. Kind of things, things could play out for the better, for the worse. There are incredible other voices in the space. I think we're probably positioned differently. Most of the voices that I'm mentioning, they also they're tied to a certain company, they're employees of companies. I'm employed by myself at my own company, so I think the schedule freedom and the freedom period of what I can or cannot say, I'm allowed. I'm in a very fortunate position that I could speak up my mind versus if I was a corporate employee.
Yeah.
So I think there's not really a competition. There's plenty other voices in multifamily facilities I have a lot of respect for. We do projects together. My door is open to them on a podcast. They're always coming to my podcast. So it's not. I'm not seeing as the voice necessary. Now, am I the relevant voice? That's up for debate as well. But due to the fact that I kind of like structure my own schedule in a certain way that I'm posting every day, no breaks, typically 3 times a day, that kind of like, it adds up. So when you compare with someone that only can make time, to post once or twice a week,
Sure.
it's a big difference. So I think from a quantitative standpoint, maybe I'm out there. From a quality standpoint, that's up for the audience, for people that consume the content to decide. So
I think what's interesting about what you described though is you've got your experience, your education, and then the opportunity before you made it like your content's really easy to consume. Like it's as when I was coming in as an outsider, I followed your content to understand the problems because you have the freedom of voice, freedom of time. You have the structure in your mind from your education and the experience from your working career to be able to put together a sound argument around your opinions, right? And so I found it really easy to kind of follow you and learn from you about what's going on, especially, I'll call it like a year and a half ago, the early innings on centralization and what that looks like. And I'm grateful for that conversation. And so that kind of begins to kind of evolve, and you're evolving to where you've gained experience in content production, and then so now you've got Multifamily X Consulting, where you help people run better buildings, and you've got your brand and content agency, and you have this new venture you're talking about. So we'll get the new one in a second here. So Multifamily Consulting, is that what it is? Like, where do you like to play in that space?
typically, I advise companies, management companies that need some assistance with their maintenance operations, like assessing current situation, maybe finding opportunities for improvement. It's mainly companies that don't have someone on staff that's like director or VP level. I'm also working with companies that do have that type of personnel, but maybe they're looking at an asset. Maybe there's a due diligence exercise that they're not large enough to pull people from the properties and execute on that. So it's a variety of ways in which I work, with management companies, but I'm covering everything that's like really high level facilities related, right? From policies, procedures to how you run, procurement, everything that maintenance has their hands in. Like I could look at a current situation and show them opportunities to make more money or save money.
And then the next one is the brand agency. And how's that? That's how recent is that? Where's that at?
It's fairly recent. It's probably like 6 to 9 months. We're about 9 months in. He came from like building my own brand.
That's what I mean, right?
And literally from a doer perspective, I don't have marketing degrees. I don't go to school. I'm just like a student of marketing, and I love marketing. I'm fascinated by it, and also branding. I think that there's a lot of value in having a strong brand, very well-defined brand. I try to help executives, individuals, and companies, just like I help myself. Basically, from experience, I want to share how I build mine, and we also build tools like content tools. I have a team that does content creation in video and written format as well. So,
and then the new venture is the
new venture it's a program that we're in process. We're not really ready to share everything. Okay. Probably within the next month or so we will be able to. Basically, it's a program that will provide apprenticeship programs at scales for the entire industry. There's great programs ran by various apartment associations or management companies. I'm yet to see one that was able to scale. In other words, to produce 100, 200, 1,000 graduates a year. Typically, I've seen 10 to 50, graduates a year, no matter what size program. Again, if they exist out there, that's great. I just think that the way we could do it, I've seen where we're missing the mark as an industry, and I think it can be done.
Well, especially if you bring together your consulting background, right, your operational background, your consulting background, your ability to amplify through content, and then looking in that gap around talent that everyone's talking about every single minute of every single day. It feels so natural for you to solve this problem. You know, you've got 35,000, 40,000 followers in just LinkedIn, and so when you say something, people hear it.
They tend to. And when you think about like what really got me over the years is that, and I was one of those people too, like we're great at talking about the problems we have. I also learned that there's only a few categories of people, like people that could determine that there's a problem exists, then fewer than them could articulate what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Even fewer, a smaller number is the number that actually could provide the solution for that particular problem.
Mm-hmm.
And a very, very few, the ones that are winning big all the time, are the ones that are doing it,
mm-hmm.
that are actually solving the problem, showing the others how it's done. So I think that I've been through all those cycles, I've been all those people. I think now I'm at a point, I don't think I'm convinced that now I have gotten to the point where I could build something, show others how we did it, and actually I don't want it to be an all be all of this program. I want for us to become a resource for management companies, for apartment associations, local, national,
Mm-hmm.
to do this at scale. If I want to be able to produce 1,000 graduates a year, I want for the industry to be able to produce altogether 50,000,
mm-hmm.
because I show them that this is scalable, and then I don't want to be the unique. The goal is not to be unique. The goal is not for me to be around forever. I can't, even if I want to. Is to build something that's scalable, something that's going to last beyond my physical activity and life, really. To build something that others will be inspired to pick it up and build it bigger than I have started.
Mm-hmm. Because and then what I like, connecting all the dots, the media company is an amplifier, right? The consulting company is recognizing the problem. This venture is solving the problem, and then all along the way we can lever up and amplify the whole function. Because one thing that you've done really well, and everybody who's in this business is grateful for your leadership in this space, is that you brought the voice of maintenance to a much higher level than it was 6, 9, 8, 12, 18 months ago. And I think a lot of it has come together by bringing the people together and not being afraid to talk about the problems, but you have agency on that conversation because you're independent from the corporation. And so when you're talking about things like technology, people listen because it's independent, and you don't have to, they understand what you're saying. And you talk about training and people problems, and we have a lot of conversations around this stuff. So now, do you think that now you have an opportunity with the kind of like your own personal boots on the ground from the consulting side of things, the training organization, which it's a very structural approach to solving this structural problem we have around talent and quality, and then being able to amplify it with your repeatability of the media company, that you're going to be in a situation now where you can really lead some of the problems that we're solving through. Because like right now, I find it's at the same time, it's remarkable and ironic that there's all this research that's showing that maintenance equals retention. And retention is the biggest problem that everyone's talking about right now. It may have been known kind of like colloquially, or the Google reviews were showing this, but now there's hard papers that say this. And then we've talked about it, and I've talked about it with a bunch of other people, is that maintenance has been uncomfortable in the past in stepping up and leading change. And maybe it's because of the circumstances of maintenance, or maybe, what's your opinion on that? Why has maintenance been uncomfortable? I don't want to say reluctant, because I don't think it's a fair word, but there's been a discomfort in stepping up and leading change. Why is that in this function?
I just think the tendency of people that perform in the maintenance field is to develop technical skills to be great with their hands. Probably most of them don't have a level of comfort to get in front of people and speak up. And then even when you speak up, there's levels and levels of speaking up and how we communicate. In order for us to affect change, we have to speak the language of business. Although you and I know we could define some problems and we could speak to a very large audience, that's not the audience that writes the checks, that's not the audience that spends the money on solving the problems that we're voicing. That's happening in asset management and in a suite. These individuals speak and understand things a certain way. So speaking the language of business, it's like a skill in itself. It's not easy to develop, and I don't think that most people think that they could do that, or they might not even realize that it takes a different wording it in a certain, like knowing your audience, right? I don't think they even realize. They're thinking that why can't people understand that we have problems and we need money to solve? There's reasons behind it, and I think that's kind of like the main challenge, and that's what makes it harder for us in maintenance to voice that and become voices at a higher level versus someone that grew on a parallel path as a leasing agent, a system manager, community manager. Why? Because through the jobs that they do, they're forced to learn the language of business.
Right.
It has to be part of their career path. There's not a part on a maintenance career path that says, or forces you to, it doesn't have to be in writing. Learn the language of business.
Read a contract, learn how the contract reads, write a contract, have people sign it, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Learn
that's the cause out there.
So then, if that's a gap, now what's interesting is that right now, with the attention on maintenance and retention, do the maintenance professionals, I'll say the maintenance function, right? Are they equipped to respond to that new accountability? Because if they may not be comfortable with that accountability, but the data has shown over and over again, especially in the last 2 quarters, I think I've seen 4 or 5 different studies that have come out independently pointing at maintenance and retention. Is the maintenance function ready to accept that accountability?
This episode is brought to you by AppWork, the maintenance platform built by operators for operators. If your work order system is slowing you down, it's time for a change. AppWork helps you streamline operations, boost tech efficiency, and track everything in real time. Smarter tools, better results. Check them out at appworkco.com. I don't think it's a matter of you're ready or not. In this industry, if the focus is on you and you gotta perform at a certain level, you either swim or sink.
So the fluency around the language of business is a Q4 priority if you're a maintenance leader.
Well, it should be. I don't know if it is. It should be. And I think honestly, regardless of the situation that we're in right now, and you're mentioning case studies that are showing, I don't think that was ever a less important time in a history for us as professionals to speak our minds out, to make the case for maintenance. I think now it's an environment that's more geared towards, it creates more opportunity for us to voice it and encourages that conversation. But regardless, at the end of the day, I'm not sure if we're going to see more leaders rising to the occasion and speaking at this level, or it's just gonna take a long time for that to happen.
Or they'll bring in new leaders.
Bringing new leaders, that's a great concept. Because there's great leadership outside of the trade, the maintenance trade. And then I learned one thing over the years is that you could actually have great managers and executives that might not have that, deep technical knowledge of fixing things. They're just great at managing.
Yeah.
And they could actually, some of them, they're great at being leaders. They're great at identifying people that have the strongest technical skills. They're just great at putting together a team and leading the team. So I could totally see how some companies that are very open-minded will go and recruit for facilities leadership individuals that didn't grow up in our industry.
Well, even if they came over from commercial, like even adjacent or retail, right? Like it's not too hard to stretch your brain in those industries, right? So what I'm kind of getting at is that if the opportunity, if the spotlight is on the function and it's connected to revenue, which is a high profile number, and the answer is not, and people don't put their hands up and stand up. If I'm the CEO of one of those companies, I need a gap to fill, and if you're not going to stand up, I'm going to replace it. I wonder if we're going to see more people come from outside of industry at the EVP, VP level and maybe outside of multifamily, adjacent is probably very likely, commercial, retail, whatever. And then beyond adjacent, other logistics or asset-based industries. Like I'm shocked, military is a great example. They could come in, Shed earlier. Like those different managerial, you talk to manage people where you've got remote assets, you've got, centralized entities that are happening. Those are all very portable into this industry. And if I'm a leader, what I'm getting at, I'm going to fill that gap. So what I'm getting at is that the fluency for the language of business, the fluency for being able to speak to your audience around the problem that needs to be addressed, and then owning the accountability. And this is the part that Tony and I chatted about a couple weeks back, is that it feels as though the accountability, it's a bit of a jump ball right now. And only a few people are putting their hands up to get it. Where do you see accountability? How do you see accountability for the maintenance function? And not so much the get the work order done level, but the leadership level for maintenance. What's the opportunity there?
I think it's an incredible opportunity, and I'd like to speak to something else that I started over 2 years ago. The multifamily facilities leadership council. The concept was, as you were saying, not enough voices in a space, and we didn't have a place for us to meet, exchange ideas, discuss challenges, opportunities, solutions. So I created this council. I was actually doing a podcast with someone that became a friend of mine. And actually it wasn't my idea, it was his idea. I said, man, wouldn't it be great if we had a place where we could meet every so often and just kind of like talk shop and come up, brainstorm. And I said, not only it's an amazing idea, but why not just us starting it? So we did start it. Obviously, he had a W2 assignment at the time, still has with a different company. He wasn't able to dedicate the time to kind of like co-own the project. So I ended up just exclusively owning and growing it, right? So we're at 200 plus members. Combined, these members manage and oversee over 2 million apartment homes.
Right.
Meeting every other week, for an hour on Zoom. We record all the calls. So we're trying to build that community now. Back to your question, because
it's related. It's related.
It is related, but I don't want to drift away from the original question. Is there opportunity for accountability? I think incredible opportunity for accountability.
Like almost never before.
Like never before. Are people going to take advantage? Problem is that a lot of people wanted to succeed and move up the ladder, but then the steps that they had to take in order to become that person, become that leader, are missing in the process. So it's more of a wishful thinking type of thing.
Right.
They think they deserve, they think they know the business, they've been there for long enough. And they're only thinking in terms of tenure and also I deserve I'm entitled.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of work, working in the dirt with your head down, and it never really stops, right? In order together. So I don't know. The council will be a perfect example. I have site level folks, reaching out to me asking for advice. I said, I'm happy to give you advice. I'm happy to mentor you, but here's an opportunity which is free to you, because we're not just closing the circle, allowing only directors of maintenance and VPs, but we also have service managers, even service techs, possibly a couple. It's a free thing. Just come. You don't have to say anything. Just participate. Just soak it in. Just understand.
Well, I think one of the things that is also successful about it is that you've created a community where one didn't exist before. And in this case, the community, like those individuals felt alone on their properties, at their desks or whatever.
100%.
And it's a battle out there. And so at least they're able to know that they're not alone in what they're trying to tackle. So if I'm tackling a talent problem, or I'm tackling a retention problem, or a churn problem, or a make ready problem, or whatever, right? In those cases, I can reach out to people who are helpful in a constructive conversation to solve that problem, which then it goes back to the 3 pillars that you're working on right now. Because if we have the leadership, you've got the training programs, you've got the amplification, and you've got the experience. Now it's starting to form a really nice balanced stool around those 4 legs. Because if we don't, there's really no gaps when you consider the energy for change that you'd be able to put together. And so if I felt that if I'm a maintenance leader and I was thinking about, we talked about the other day, we talked maintenance as a business, as a revenue center versus strictly a cost center. If I'm thinking of that by myself, I might feel all by myself in that thinking, but if I bring it to something like maintenance leadership, facilities, the FLC, then I can at least get some feedback on that idea or experience with other people before I invest a whole lot of mental energy into it, because it might be a dead dog, but it could be it could be very well something that could solve a lot of problems. Those 4 things are all coming together. I think are starting to increase accountability, because you've got accountability too within the community, right? And so it's emerging. There are people that are talking to one another, want to be part of it, because they what I'm finding interesting is numbers kind of ebb and flow, but those that are committed to the conversations feel committed to change, and they see an opportunity for their people, for themselves, and that energy is something that was never really channeled before. And so the lack of a voice, lack of a place to have that voice, lack of constructive conversations, and a regularity to it all has really created an opportunity for maintenance to really come together as a single force and start learning from each other. And congratulations to you on that, because otherwise people still feel alone.
There's a lot of loneliness in life too, in general. When you think about, even if you're a person that's lucky enough to have a supportive family and lots of friends, when you think about going through tough things in life, I think that people go through those things by themselves way more than they're comfortable to admit. In other words, life is a very lonely journey. Even for people that are fortunate enough to have that support, family and friends, it could still be very lonely. You have to be comfortable enough to be in your head and just to be pulled in by that vision. Wherever the vision is, wherever your goals are, to not let yourself prey to, negative feelings or depression, or think that you're a failure. It's very easy. It's a lot easier to say than to do, but that's just the reality. And then technology, I think in many cases, do not pull people together. It kind of separates them. It pushes them apart. And the only connections that builds are those virtual connections, which they have a very important role, but they don't replace this.
100%. Well, I think it's interesting now is that You could know more about, I knew more about you by listening and following and kind of like, before I had even met you. So you can kind of skip past first base, so to speak, but ultimately nothing beats being in person. I think that's the part that like, it's difficult to get across the chasm of trust if you don't see people face to face, have a meal with them, share a drink. I don't think those are, I think it's difficult. You know, I've been going to site a whole lot more than I have in the past. And I tell you something, it's changed my whole perspective on the people that we're seeking to solve and the problems that we want to solve for them. And it's I don't know, I'm grateful for it as well, right? And I think that like the conversations that you're bringing forward to the community are making people, or I'll put it this way, it's beginning to introduce a bit of the appropriate level of discomfort, meaning it's not pain, but change is discomfort and growth is discomfort. And putting yourself out, even putting your hand up in the Zoom call with 40 other people and saying, I don't think that's right, is discomfort. And creating that venue where people can get comfortable with that can start helping people move into this new era of discomfort, of accountability that we're feeling now in the maintenance function, in addition to technology. So talking about technology next. So there is a lot of technology out there, and some of it is unnecessary, some of it is necessary, some of it could be groundbreaking, some of it could be a distraction, right? And depending on the marketing program, you might own a bit of everything when it comes to all those things. And you're dialed in on tech. We're partners. You got partners all across the board, so you understand what's happening in the world. When we talk about technology, and then talk about the training, right? Talk about the training program, talk about your consulting work, talk about the leadership council, it has to match to a problem. And you see certain problems emerge because of all these different touch points. So when you're looking at technology and we're talking about AI, when you're having those conversations, is technology presented as a solution, or is it presented often in the context of problem? What's your take on it? When we're talking about tech, am I talking about, and you can speak to me directly, am I talking about the solution, or am I talking about the problem that I'm trying to solve?
I think you're asking the questions. I don't think you're talking about anything. Mm-hmm. You're asking questions first. Mm-hmm. Talking about either or, you're making some assumptions. Mm-hmm. And you don't know if the other party, your potential client, let's say your prospect, wants to hear about that. Maybe they want to hear more about the problem. Maybe they want to get deeper into the problem. Or maybe they just have so much pain, they really want a solution, but you have no way of knowing without asking the questions.
Right.
Then I think everything starts in the discovery process. The more thorough discovery process you do, the better off you will be to craft your message and everything about technology. Because there's no two people alike, there's no two organizations alike, there's no two pain points alike. Generally speaking, let's just say labor shortage, right? So since we're short on people, we bring in some technology that can automate some of the tasks. Sure, but this is very generic though, right? If we keep the conversations at the generic level, we're not going to make a lot of progress. Here's why. When you keep it to generic, you're going to build chances that that's going to attract like a generic solution to it.
Sure.
And then you're not tackling, you're not going deep, you're not resolving the problems. You're just patching. It's just like a temporary patch to something, to a problem. But then in the process, probably you're missing the specifics of the problem. Therefore, your product probably like misses some or all of them. And then your end user is being completely ignored. It's being ignored by your technology and by the people at the corporate office. It's the problem that I'm seeing the most common.
To explain that a little bit further.
Of course, when someone builds a tech product, they're thinking, who's my customer? And of course, it's going to be the CTO of the company, it's going to be the senior VP of person that signs the contract.
Mm-hmm.
To me, your customer is the person, is the end user, the one that
Right.
you put your app on their phone, in their hands, and they're playing with it. That is your customer. That's your main customer. Because companies are too focused on sales,
Mm-hmm.
therefore relationship with the C-suite, with people that would write a check for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they're focused on thinking they know what the problem is, and they have a great way to solve the problem. Wow. Most of them have never been in this space.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a high level of arrogance here
Mm-hmm.
for someone to come in from outside looking in and say, I know that you have a problem and I want to solve it for you, but then I don't need to know anything. Like, I know what the problem is. I could build that solution for you and I just send it to you. So you see, in all this picture that I described right here, the end user is never present.
Right.
He's not present at the table when the property management makes the purchase decision.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not present on the table in the person that actually built the deck.
Mm-hmm. Because
they never hire a person that's an end user to play with that product and tell them, is this something that you would be using or not? They're going straight to, let's hire some developers. This is the idea. Put this to life. Put my vision to life. And then we just gotta push it down the throat on the poor saps at the side.
Yeah.
And they're wondering why people don't use technology. The most common excuse that I'm hearing for main stack is that our people aren't tech savvy. Bullshit.
Yeah, I hear that.
They're using a smartphone every single day.
Yeah.
How about you build an app that's just like Uber, that you don't even, you can't even train on Uber.
Yeah.
Because they made it so intuitive that you download and you just use it. Almost any person could use it, will know how. How about you build that type of technology?
Yeah.
And then come back and say that the people aren't technology savvy. The problem is not your customer. It never is. It's a unique situation that we're in our industry where people that are building products and services are blaming it on the customer for not buying it. This is an incredible situation to me. How could you blame it on a customer? Mm-hmm. Go back to the damn drawing board and build a better product that your customer will like. Instead, blame it on them for not liking your inferior product.
Right. Well, I think that what's interesting from a tech perspective is inferiority is kind of it's an opinion, right? And I'm not saying it's not inferior. There's certain thresholds that you have to meet to be a decent product.
Let's define inferior, because I think this is interesting.
It's like a bad fit. I see it's inferior as a bad fit. Like for me to buy a exceptionally complicated technical solution for my personal life would be overkill, and it would be consequently inferior, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't need that much. But to find something that fits just perfectly is a superior product, right? So a great example would be I don't need Figma or Canva, versus, here we go, iMovie versus Canva, right? iMovie, to build a video and edit it, I think is pretty inferior, but it's good enough for everybody else. Canva is amazing for what I need to do, and I know there's more complicated products than that. But to build a video and edit it and all that stuff, I find Canva to be just perfect for me, which I think is what your point was. Is that the personal definition of the problem? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, well, I think I'm basing this inferiority definition could also be superiority, right? If it's a great product, based on the feasibility.
Mm-hmm. I like that word.
Is it a feasible product? In other words, if you put it in my hands, can I use it easily? Mm-hmm. And with the least amount of clicks or swaps? And would it make my job easier? If the answer is yes to these three questions, that's a superior product. Mm-hmm. That's a product.
It's a better mousetrap.
If you're missing on either one or more than one of the three, probably there's more work to do out there.
Well, I like your definition, right? Is it can it create more work or less work for me? Because if it's going to create more work at the end user level, I don't care if it rolls up into a beautiful dashboard. I'm perfectly fine using things with a notepad because that is the kind of defined box of work that I'm comfortable spending. But if you make it harder, then I'm kind of out.
You're probably good with a piece of paper. If that makes it does quicker for you.
For that single job, right?
For that particular job,
I've seen
pen and paper.
I've seen some inspection software that is like, you can barely even get started because of the drop downs and the forms and the 100 different categories that you've got to pick from.
I'd love to talk to you about that because I know your product is around this concept about inspections. And I've argued with someone else that builds technology, also they're playing into the inspection field. And what I try to tell the person and everyone else when it comes to inspections, like, if you have an inspection that has 50 or 100 points per apartment, you probably only need 5 to 10.
Yeah, that's what we're finding that too.
Because you don't want to validate all the ones that are like in good condition. Nobody's looking for those. It's exceptions.
Yeah.
Look for the deficiencies. What's the point to check 100 boxes so I could find five things that are wrong?
Yeah.
Why can I not build a system that actually tells me you have 5 things wrong?
Yeah.
And everything else, and we're making the assumption that the 95 others are right.
And what's interesting about that kind of outcome is that in many cases, the 5 defects that you're seeking to find, they're categorized under other because it wasn't in a drop-down box.
So true.
So true. Like that's the thing that I find.
You gotta type in, so after you check 100 boxes, you gotta go to other and like type in notes and take pictures and justify it. Absolutely ridiculous.
I did a walk a few weeks back. I think you're hitting on something that kind of spilled out of the conversation I had a couple weeks back with Tony. Was that, and I've had been at fault for this in the past. My whole career has been in technology, right? Is that we like to build things. We like to build computer systems for how computers work, not for how people work. And I don't think we have that excuse anymore. We used to have that excuse because the user interfaces weren't as high fidelity as they are now. The voice wasn't nowhere where it is today. But I think that if we look back at some of the technology that we are forcing on people, and we think about what you would do, could you do that while driving a car? Could you do that while wearing glasses, right? How could you make this all work using what AI can do? We would throw out 90% of software out there because it doesn't match how humans want to use software. So it's interesting in that I think that there is a ton of convention around how humans interact and interface. The fingers as a digital input tool instead of like a keyboard. BlackBerry died because it bet on the wrong way. It wanted people to enter the way computers entered, not the way humans entered. And I think that's an interesting opportunity for us from a technology perspective, is to follow people who are doing the inspections and watch what they're doing. And that has been such an eye-opener for us, is we actually just put our tool on somebody. I was in California 4 weeks ago and literally started it and just gave it to the tech and said, do your walk. They said, what do I mean? I said, just do your walk. I'm not going to train you. And I was shitting my pants because I was like, it better freaking work, right? And the guy did the walk, the whole thing, and then boom, out came the deficiencies. And it was just like, that was the intention of it all, but I feel like we almost got a little bit lucky along the way because we've had a lot of really good development, like good customer partners along the way that nudged us into this direction. But until that moment, I'd actually never really been in a walk before. I hadn't seen how the walk is done. And right after that meeting, we completely changed the whole of our checklist because our checklists were largely kind of like how the legacy forms were built. This may be a little boring, I'll get off it soon. Legacy forms was like entryway, kitchen, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, HVAC, whatever. It was just a list of things, but it wasn't how they did the work. And what we're able to observe is the way that the inspector does the work, like the right-hand walk, We can build a checklist that is only 5, 6, 7 steps. So you have your compliance pieces: fire alarm, carbon monoxide, HVAC, plumbing, kitchen, right-hand walk, everything else. And we have a higher quality because we actually cut questions out, because we're doing it. It's difficult to skip a step when you're doing a right-hand walk inspection. But it's just interesting to kind of look at how the people are using it instead of how we think they should use it.
Yeah, again, because that's the problem, right? In a field is where everything happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you didn't realize until you've been in a field. You know, this is the most telling story here. And it basically just doubles down what I was saying. I had the same argument besides, like, checklist versus exception list.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the same suggestion to another significant player, in the inspection space. I told them that you're missing out. The first thing you're missing out here when you have various areas of apartment is that they don't match the floor plan, not the floor plan. They don't match. It goes beyond the floor plan. They don't match the layout of that particular apartment. Because you can have the same floor plan that has, it's like right hand or they're mirrored typically, they're back to back, as they try to put plumbing in the middle to make it more efficient and just kind of bridge out. So it's kind of like bedrooms are back to back here typically, or whatever, but they're mirroring, right? So the layout of each apartment should represent. If you have like a checklist type, at least do that. At least do that for the customer. Like left or right, make sure that it follows, your inspection follows the topography, the layout of each apartment, each individual, not each floor plan. So customize that way.
But I find it, but when you think about, to your comment earlier about just want the defects, let's go what AI can do. If you have a checklist that has your compliance pieces, and just, in terms of technology, compliance pieces, which the must-haves, and fire alarm, okay, that has to be checked, right? And we've got to have compliance on that. But then everything else, we can even over-engineer a checklist if AI can figure out what I was checking. What we're finding interesting right now is that we can make checklists even down to like 3 or 4 checklists, because AI is able to identify the deficiencies versus having to have a line item for every single checklist. So, I mean, what that means is that a checklist that might add 100 items, or even worse, 100 different checklists, right, can now just be 3 or 4 or 5 general checklists that everyone just follows, and then they use their human interfaces, voice, digital, whatever, fingers, to be able to kind of identify the objects that need to be addressed, and then go for it. So it's an example of like technology should really adopt the way humans are doing the work versus change the way humans are doing the work. And I don't think we've been at that point from a technology perspective until really recently. Like when we think about AI and its ability to ingest all this sort of data forms and make sense of it all. Whereas before we had to make sense of it all before we processed the information. But we can now allow for really messy data and then use AI to make it really, really structured without even lifting a finger. And that's creating a huge opportunity in maintenance, whereas typically lived in a world of messy data.
Not only that, but I go back to your previous statement. The more advanced AI becomes, and today is advanced enough so I could make the statement, less companies that are on the market today are going to exist. Because they're going to have to make a very strong case of why their product does something that also ChatGPT could do for free. No matter how nice, friendly interface you have, but at the end of the day, and we're only talking about large learning models. When you're getting very narrow and you're going to build some agents that are trained on particular tasks, not just on everything, all the information that's available in the world. That narrows down even more the number of products, tech products that should survive and will survive in the long term. Let's just take trading. Trading has been fascinating me lately. And let's talk about maintenance trading in particular. You have the old model. Well, a maintenance director probably teams up with a director, training director, and they put together a curriculum for each job description. One for groundskeeper, one for punch, one for service match. And those people have a list of courses that they gotta take, certain time frame. Most of those training platforms available don't even have an app on the phone. So you're gonna have your employees, maintenance employees, fighting for a place at a computer that most of the times doesn't even exist. Right? Which is something ridiculous. So, or to be forced to take it on their own time at home, which is ridiculous. To do what? To pay attention for 30 minutes or an hour. Just enough attention so they could answer some questions at the end of the test that they're going to forget the next day. Do you see how ridiculous this whole thing is?
They're called learning management systems for a reason. It's actually not about learning. It's about managing the learning.
Yeah, right? But you when you're not learning, you're not managing shit.
Yeah, I agree. It's just
you're not managing shit.
Just doing this.
It's not you just checking some boxes.
Yeah.
And in the process is this platform making a lot of money, while companies' employees are just wasting time, and the company is paying money for that. It's absolutely ridiculous. And right here and right now, take this in good note. It's not going to be long until this model disappears. It's obsolete and it's ridiculous. Nobody wants it.
Well, you already see it. I think that I would argue that the training, the application of knowledge, right, in the moment is satisfied by real-time information versus the training that I took. And only if I've done it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times do I realize that this is how to rewire a dryer panel. If I see a panel, because the variety of all the different things that I need to fix are so variable, I'm going to Google it. And if you go look, I find it interesting following things on Reddit or X, where people are trying to actually figure this stuff in real time. There's a community of people that are out there helping each other. Now, what's interesting about it is that you don't know where the advice is coming from or if the advice is good. But it's still so much easier to consume in the moment than the training I took, or I was only able to attend half of it 4 months ago. That's just not relevant any longer. So it's going to be about distribution and activating that distribution than it is about what you've actually learned. Because you look at it right now, you don't need to know much of anything. You don't need to know how to learn, not what to learn.
You need to know how to ask the right questions.
Right.
You don't need to be a troubleshooter. Imagine, a friend was sharing this with me, this vision. Imagine having glasses.
VRs, yeah.
That not to trade, no, not the programs that we're seeing now. Just something that you go around the room wearing those glasses, and you're literally looking at an outlet or some wiring out there. You don't know how to fix it, and the glasses are feeding you the information.
Yeah, we're not too far from that.
No, we're not. Technology exists. It's just about creating a particular product that's specifically goggles, and the information that's fed to them is relevant to what the person does.
Yeah, the new Meta glasses are pretty impressive. Even the first generation of them that records.
Have you?
Yeah, I've got a pair.
You actually do?
Yeah, they're pretty impressive. I have not seen the newest version that has the pop-up display. What they've done there is defies the laws of physics, and it's very impressive. The previous version I thought was very practical in terms of being able to identify, what am I looking at, describe it, be able to convey some sort of information about it. And I thought it was a pretty good step in terms of making it a very lightweight way to consume the physical space. The newer versions are a little heavier, but they'll get smaller. And they have pop-up and heads-up display, which I didn't even think was possible, but it's out there right now. So those are, like as an example, the glasses version that were out in the spring, I did some inspections with those. It's pretty damn good. Like to be able to have both your hands, be able to record 5 or 6, 2 segments of 3 minutes long, it's the current technology, and be able to observe and walk along and then have a checklist that you're following and produce all the defects, that's pretty impressive. And so the gap that I think is emerging with some of this consumer-based technology is that, again, we're going to have consumer expectations that far exceed what we have in our hands to do the work every single day. And that'll be an interesting world to live in, because you can go buy and those people that will, in every position of a company, they will go buy these new Meta glasses, and it's a very high fidelity experience, and they're going to have that through their consumer applications, consumer life, and the industrial life is going to be years behind. So it'll be interesting to see how that crosses over, or if people will just start using it in their business life, just like how they use GPT right now in their business life without having consent or awareness or anything like that.
It's extremely interesting what you're saying, because I hear operators complaining nowadays, say residents expect a higher level of service from us, because Amazon has gotten them used to same-day delivery, next-day delivery at your doorstep, like a frictionless process, and they expect now that type of experience in everything, especially as residents in multifamily. And at the end of the day, you as an operator, you could deny them that, but guess what? Somebody else wants.
It's very easy. That's not great word. That's not great language. You kind of have to work at delivering a bad experience. Like you have to be intentional about delivering a bad experience these days, because it's so easy to make choices that make the experience better. And I think that's an interesting situation that we're in right now, because like the desire to choose change is uncomfortable, but the consequences of not choosing change is also a choice, but people don't know they're making that choice. And so by not choosing change, I'm choosing the status quo. I'm choosing burnout for my people. I'm choosing slow response rates. I'm choosing slow work order rates. I'm choosing terms that don't get done, because I don't want to choose the alternative. And I find that's a really interesting position that we're in, especially now with the spotlight on maintenance, because the choices I used to make, no one really noticed. Maybe they didn't even care. But now they notice and they care. So to your point, the beginning part of the conversation, accountability isn't an option.
Yeah.
Like there's no vote on are you accountable for this or not. You got the title and the job. You're accountable. And you're accountable to make choices to solve this set of problems. And so I think that's going to be a very uncomfortable next 6 months for a lot of leaders, because if they're not willing to step up and do the job, they will find somebody that will.
Here's the deal. The thing that excites me the most about the advent of AI is that you cannot hide the shit that you've been doing for decades. If you're an executive, you're not on top of your game, you're done. Your days are numbered.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
If you're a technician, the same thing. It will reveal what you know, what you don't know. So what AI does is great at showing everything in black and white, right? So
bias free.
It's bias free. It's a great auditor. So this is what's gonna do on people's side. So it's beautiful. Secondly, what AI does is gonna clean up technology. Companies are complaining about having too heavy of a tech stack. most of it is not being used, so they're just paying for it. AI is gonna come and clean up everything because it's gonna do audits on usage, see adoption rates, see everything, and see what software doesn't work. There was a study about a year ago, I heard about, it was a survey that was done, industry level with a lot of subjects, leasing. And it came up to 67% of the time of the leasing agents is being spent with residents and prospects, trying to help them navigate to the technology that's supposed to make it seamless for them. That's going away, man. It's just a matter of when. I just can't wait. And there's actually technology built with AI, backed by AI, that's gonna clean up all this mess. Property management companies hang in there because it's not gonna be much longer until AI is gonna solve the tech stack problem for you. There's products on the way. They're on your way. You don't have to spend too much time doing any research or like finding. AI will find it for you. You will know exactly when you see it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, again, the cost pressure is going to highlight those that are tracking that kind of utilization and those that are not. Because like, if it's black and white about the choices that you made and you chose not to deprecate that software, then tell me why you kept it. And if you can't answer that question, this is the discomfort of accountability, right? Is that now that you've gotten the profile, now you've got to be accountable. And I think that's going to be interesting to see because, like, to your point, AI's cleaned up all this stuff that was just too much of a headache to solve. Maybe just was under the radar. Maybe owners are going to start asking a couple more questions about their fees on their fee management statements around, hey, what's this for? What's this for? What's this for? How does this make me more money as an owner? Right? Because I realize as a fee manager, this is all pass through for you, but I pay for it. So I'm going to ask questions now. And I think what's going to be interesting is that, like, previously, if you were an owner with multiple different fee managers, you had all this kind of like data that was all coming in that was hard to figure out. But now you can just put that in AI and say which fee manager is performing the best.
Yeah.
Right? And it's very easy to build solutions that are projects within GPT. That's what I'm most familiar with, that you can now just use to evaluate all of these things. Like, it's just remarkable when you start building the habit around AI, how much you can use it to make yourself more scalable. And so my hope is that people at the field level, because they're the ones that could feel left out of this, all this betterment of their life, and they're going to have an opportunity to enjoy the benefits of AI as well by eliminating a lot of the wasted effort that goes into their days. Because, it's important to acknowledge that they do work very hard. They do have on-call. They do have preventative capital, all these kind of different projects they got to do. And that competing agendas make it very hard to do the job, especially when it's very inefficient. I find it very interesting that there's software out there that routes a technician the most efficient way to go solve a work ticket, a work order, whereas, like, obviously our software says, should they even be going at all? Right? And so, like, the no trip concept is completely mind bending to many people because they don't even get it.
Especially single family. Yeah. Multifamily, at least, it's kind of like, people are paid for, they're here anyway, so. Yeah. No big deal, right? Nobody tracks, that wasted time, that wasted trips. Yeah. In single family, it's up fast. If you're doing a 3-4 no trip, it's very expensive. Well,
single family, average price of an invoice is $250 per work order, right? Yeah, and the average time to close is like 6 to 7 days. That's a lot of work, right? Imagine not having your bathtub for 6 to 7 days, or your toilet for 6 to 7 days. Like, it's measurable, right? And those are higher ticket renters, and they stay longer, so it's very valuable to keep them happy versus the multifamily side of things. Now, multifamily has got its own problems and that there's not enough people to do the work. So I hope that in the multifamily side, at least from our product perspective, where we'll find traction in multifamily is where the job isn't getting done because there's just not enough people to do the job. And, there are, of course, going to be some people that they're just excluded from us solving their problem because they've got a different way of competing. But ultimately, in market rate, there's going to be a subsegment of multifamily that has a speed and quality problem. That's a priority. It's not going to be everybody. That's going to be somebody. We got to find that in multifamily.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting journey because, to your point a few minutes ago, it's not everyone's problem. So for us, the challenge that we're trying to figure out is what are the attributes of a good customer in multifamily, because we want to make sure we help those people too. And it's not high density New York City. That's not going to work. But it could be side by sides or garden styles in Kansas City, right? Those could be great examples for us. Just got to find that out. That's what we're trying to do.
It's pretty cool what you do.
It's exciting. I think there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done to talk about, to kind of like make technology friendlier for the people that need to adopt it. Because our biggest objection is the techs won't adopt technology.
I'll say usable first of all.
Yeah, usable.
It's a pretty low standard if you're asking me to, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very low bar and make it usable. Like at the beginnings of technology, they came out. I had some pretty horrid experiences, but very stacked. Like you would do a due diligence inspection. Mm-hmm. You're learning after 2 days in that you walk 200 units and the data disappear.
Ran out of tape.
Yeah. So that's, and that hasn't been too far in the past. This was probably like 4 years ago I had this situation. Anyway, I hope we're doing better now for the clients because
well, it's that everyone's had the experience where their Word document disappeared.
Yeah, but there's a hell lot of documents. So I hope when you disappear, hundreds of inspections, because each one of those inspections is a document.
Yeah.
It's also fascinating to watch everything. I'm fascinated. I'm looking honestly with a very critical eye, because I just think that the tech world generally there's just too many people that shouldn't be in it. I had this conversation with a great friend that said this, and it really resonated to me because I didn't think about it this way. Back in the day, a CEO, when you talk about a person being a CEO, that was a person that really built their bones. Mm-hmm. Like they walked over lots of dead bodies. Mm-hmm. They had a lot, they carry a lot to become the CEO. Nowadays, when we're thinking into the very fast, tech world, someone could have, their parents could, write them a check and say, son or daughter, you had this great idea, and they become a CEO, and they never manage a person, and all of a sudden they're the top of an organization, not only trying to build great products, but actually try to build an organization. And let's just say that there's a lot to be desired, right? And I think that there's a level of probably arrogance, I should say, that I'm seeing from people that think that they're better than the ones that they serve. But I'm also excited because with the advent of AI and everything that's happening, it's gonna be they're gonna be weeded out. I don't see like that type of attitude keeping them in the business, for the long run. Like people will align with people that are actually open, that actually bring in solutions, that are actually making their lives better, right? Not someone that looks from the top down and says, I just built this for you guys and you better use it. I literally see this, of course it's not public, it's behind the scenes, but I'm hearing, founders like expressing things that like the end user is too stupid to use the, the product.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but again, I think that part is going to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is going to be like a huge driver of that, or weeding out.
So then if I look at the consulting, so the media company uses AI a lot.
We do.
Yeah, you've got the facilities council, the training program, then of course your consulting group, your consulting organization. Will AI be a big part of the training program?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like using technology and to just basically start at the ground level that this is a technology business?
A combination between humans being involved. Because at the end of the day, AI is just a tool, right?
That's all it is. Power tool.
That's all it is. It's a tool, a very powerful one, right? But we need people to know how to handle the tool that's been given to them. So I'm envisioning a lot of AI being on the back end of this education process, and I'm also envision providing the training the way people want to learn.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good vision. I just shared it. I just shared with you here. Agents are the future. Just about curating the proper information and hand it to the agents and let them do what they do best. Be a resource, be a training body, and be a tool that actually gives you an answer in seconds. The type of answer that in the past it might take minutes or maybe more. Or your guessing. Research.
And it's too much work. Like it's a distribution. It's all distribution for information.
Yeah.
And that's something that is like it's just unlocked so many opportunities for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So you've got the facilities council bringing problems to talking about big problems. Consulting businesses delivering the amplification, and the training organization that's going to fill in the big problems that we're suffering through today. And you're going to train people in the way that the modern tech needs to work, which is going to close the gaps that already exist today from a technology adoption perspective. So the next question is, when you take a look at AI and tech adoption, let's start with adoption. How should technology be adopted at the field level? Because what we hear often is our techs won't use the tool. Before they even had a conversation, our techs really won't use tech. Literally said we can't even get them to use email. We can't get them to use a smartphone, which I don't really buy. If you took 100 techs, I'd be surprised if 100 of them aren't using a smartphone. I find that hard to kind of like align with, but nonetheless, how should tech be adopted at the field level with that kind of pushback?
The pushback, is very, very funny because this is anecdotal what you're sharing with me right here.
Yeah.
This is statements from management. Have you really talked to the end users? And have you really asked the questions of why they don't like technology? Is it just because they like technology at first? Or because they had some poor experiences with shit technology that made their life a nightmare and they don't want to repeat the experience? The technology that made them push away technology.
Sure.
You would be surprised. And I wouldn't even start with that. I wouldn't even start with that type of survey. What I would do, I'll take a phone.
Yeah.
And I'll literally just look at the phones that they have. And could you show me what apps do you have on your phone? Show me your apps. Can you show me how you navigate this?
Yeah.
And that'll tell you, can they manage? Can they navigate a basic app? If they can, build the same type of technology. They'll adopt it. I promise you that.
Because they want their life to be better too.
Yeah. Ask them, how do you get your information? Like if you don't know how to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
If they tell you YouTube compared with AI agents that are trained on that particular trade, YouTube is a waste of time. I mean, we think it's a great resource for Reddit, and it is in lieu of something else. But the something else now exists.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to learn how to troubleshoot, how to whatever, and then I go spend 3 to 5 minutes on YouTube, when an AI agent could deliver the answer in 30 seconds.
3 seconds.
What in 3 seconds?
Yeah.
What do you think I want to choose?
Yeah.
And what everyone else is going to choose. Not that now everybody's just gotta like jump on the occasion. It's gonna take time, right, for people to get used to the idea. But again, technology at first comes from the fact that they're bad technology adverse. They're not technology adverse. Even older generation, like late Gen X's, I bet you that if you put something in their hands that they could work like an Uber type, they're gonna put it to good use.
Well, it's funny because you travel a lot. I travel a lot. I look around, and people on planes are all different ages and shapes and sizes. And there's no TVs on planes anymore. It's all entertainment on their apps. I haven't seen any sort of statistical data that shows that people that are older would rather not, on a plane. They're checking in with their United app. They're watching the movie on their telephone. But they're adopting because the alternative is terrible. You're gonna read the airline magazine. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Welcome to the 1990s.
Yeah. So it's interesting to take a look at it. And so we've covered off your background, your passion for what you're doing right now, the 3 plus 1, so 3.5 different ventures you've got kicking off, how we're going to solve the problem. What's in your way?
What's my way?
Yeah.
I just need a lot of time, really.
Yeah.
I'm involved in too much, I do too much. That's all it is. It's just.
But that can be a good sorting hat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it forces you to decide.
It's by choice for me.
Yeah. What do you think? So for everyone listening today, I mean, it's Q4. People have attention on them. Given what you're talking about and where you see the world going, I'm a maintenance leader. Like, what should I be prioritizing?
But as a maintenance leader,
yeah,
I really think that you should be looking at technology in the most aggressive way. Technology that's available for free, not technology that your company should adopt. Get familiar with that technology. Use it in your daily life.
Install the app on your phone.
Install the app on your phone, play with it. I think you should allocate time to play with new technology every day. It doesn't have to be hours. If you only have 15 minutes, try it on your app for 15 minutes. There's incredible technology out there that you might not use most of it for work, but it will open your mind to better understand what is that you need for your work. Because if there's a solution put in front of you and you're not exposed to technology, how are you gonna bet something that you don't know anything about? So educate yourself on technology. I really believe so. Basics have not changed. Conversation has not changed. Ever since I started my podcast, ever since I've been in an industry, the same problems are how to find great people, how to reduce turnover, and problem is the issues are going the other way. Like we're not getting better. The situation is getting worse over time. So those issues will stay here, will be here for a minute. How are you gonna make a difference? Like learn the technology, because good technology will really make your life easier. Will eliminate, especially once everyone's like dying, now being short-staffed. Centralization is not the solution. The solution is automate some of the tasks and remove something of your existing people, place, the very few that you have left.
I think that's the only way forward. And you know what I'll say to somebody? The first step, if you do not have a Gmail account, get a Gmail account. And why? Because don't use your work email for trying to sign up for all this stuff. Because it's going to be complicated. And the single sign-on with Gmail is very simple and easy. And if you want to reduce the barriers to trying something on your own app, on your own phone, or your own whatever, just get a Gmail account. And do that, and not because you're doing it offline, because it's going to make it so much easier for you to experiment. So much easier to try and audition something, because you might install an app, try it 3 times and get rid of that app, and that's done. You don't have to talk to anybody else. So get that done, so then you're invited to the party. And then once you're invited to the party, start experimenting in your personal life, right? And it's pretty impressive what you can accomplish once you start trying to use it. And then you become articulate about it, then you're comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, then it's not really authentic to start pushing that on your own people. You're speaking out of hand. And so I think that you're onto something in terms of like, start planning your Thanksgiving, weekend. We're a month and a half out. Plan that with GPT. Figure ways to find out excuses and ways to use it, because you'll find that you can really unlock creativity around problem solving that you might otherwise not have had before. So I'm with you on that. I think that would be a really helpful first step for everybody. And think about it in terms of like how it can change your life, and then how it can change your people's life, and ultimately your clients and your residents' life. I like that.
Absolutely.
That's it, man. It was always good.